own price. Never done it before, may never do it again, depending on how it turns out. So let's get straight into it. So I wanted to get creative this year. Every year I do something which I launch in my e-newsletter list for the anniversary of becoming a coach and therapist. So this year, if you're watching this in real time, it's, well, just at the end of September 2023. And in 2 days' time, October, it will be the 23-year anniversary of me becoming a coach and therapist. So at that time, I was studying to be a chartered accountant, gave it up to be a coach and therapist and hypnotherapist and trainer. I know it sounds like an odd thing to do, and it wasn't what I'd set out to do in terms of the very potted version of that. For those people who haven't heard that backstory, I was very quiet and very shy, decided I would be a chartered accountant. One of the reasons, not because it was the thing I was most passionate about doing, I was actually more interested in law or marketing, but the reasons for not choosing those are a story for another day. But I figured also one of the reasons for choosing accountancy is that I didn't have to talk to people, because I was very quiet, very shy, lacking in confidence, very low self-esteem. And so I figured I wouldn't have to talk to people. We could hide behind paperwork and a calculator. Of course, I realized very quickly that was not the case, and that to be a decent accountant, you've got to at least talk to your customers, talk to your clients. So signed up for what I thought would be a communication skills course. Good. I knew about the NLP side, neuro-linguistic programming. Then, excuse me, I got the box through the post, which was the joining instructions. And it had all the stuff about hypnosis, timeline therapy, Hawaiian Huna, H-U-N-A. And I was like, whoa, this is a bridge too far. Because prior to that, I had a business studies degree, had a postgraduate marketing diploma with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And of course, I'm on the accountancy track. So that was just a step too far for me. So I did actually get in touch and I said, look, I think I need a refund here. This isn't really what I signed up for. And they said, no, come to the training. If you don't get massive value, at which point I rolled my eyes, then we'll give you a training at the refund at the end of the training. And of course, the rest, as they say, is history. Went in one end, you know, almost pretty much arms folded, just gunning for them because I wanted my refund. And came out the other end completely transformed, hence the transformation program. So I'm doing an experiment. Pay your own price. This is how it works. It's been over 10 years since I opened up this version of the transformation program. The reason it's been such a long time, and I said back then when I ran it, I said, I don't know if I'm going to run this again or when I'm going to run it. And I'm sure people went, yeah, I'll do it when she does it, launches it again in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or even a couple of years. And now we are well over 10 years since I was able to do it, because it's time intensive for me, because not just showing up for the sessions, that's almost the smallest part of it. The big stuff is what happens behind the scenes in terms of planning the sessions, designing the sessions, coordinating everything, figuring out what we do next, planning how we get the results. It's a lot of work. And so I've not opened it up to a kind of a cohort group of people since that first time over 10 years ago. I think it was 2011, maybe 2012. That I last kind of did it in this format. But I thought for the 23-year anniversary, I would open up a couple of spots. And I was thinking, well, you know, that's nice, but I'd like to do something a bit different. And then I'm setting up the page and I noticed this thing called pay your own price. And I'm like, what is that? So I had a look-see, and the way that it works, as it says, there's an option where you can, so I've set it up as a full pay, a pay in full. And then I've added the option last night, if you're watching this in real time, for the pay your own price. So the way that it works, a bit like an auction, I have to set a reserve price under which you can't do it. But anything above the reserve price, even if it's 50 pence, 50 cents, $1, a pound, a yen, a euro, as long as it goes over the reserve price, which is very clearly there on the page, so you don't have to guess. It's not like a silent auction or something like that. But as long as it's over the reserve price or the reserve price, then you can choose what price you want to pay. So you can just pay the reserve price, or if you want to, you go, oh, this is worth a lot more, you can pay more, and all the rest of it. So that's what I've did, and it's gone out to my e-newsletter list because they always get first dibs at stuff when I'm doing it. And you've got two options actually for those of you who are on my e-newsletter list. You can do the pay your own price, or if you preferred, let's say, payment plan, etc., then what you can do, because when I do launch this, it will be a 23% saving to mark the 23 years. My e-newsletter list get different prices, so they've got an extra 10% off, so it's 33% if you're booking before the end of this month, if you don't want to do the pay your own, but you want to split the payment. So that's how it all works. So yes, it's an experiment. I may never do this again, but it might be fun. But I just thought it'd be a nice way to do it, particularly in the context backdrop of the current climate as well. So when you head on over to the page, so if you're on my e-newsletter list, this landed this morning around between 7:45 and 8:15 a.m. UK time. So what will that be? 3 o'clock in the morning for USA Eastern time. So it'll be in your email inbox when you've woken up. But the way it works, just click the link, you'll see the options there on the page. So if you can see my cursor where it says choose a pricing option. So you can do the for pay, and that's spread over 4 months. You can do the pay in full, or the green box, which is highlighted just off the bottom of just above the banner. That's where you can choose your own price for the 6-month program. Now, if you're like, I don't know, what's this program include? I'm going to share with you just a couple of bits of feedback from people who did the intake when I opened it up over 10 years ago. As I said, I've not done it since then, for those of you just kind of tuning in. And this is what one of my clients said. They said, it does what it says on the tin. My life is transformed. And that was from Claudette Byfield, senior manager at the time, working as a civil servant, so working for the British government. And it was just fantastic. And it was that because I grew up watching something, it was called a Ron seal, and it's like a paint like varnish, and it says it does what it says on the tin. And so it's really wonderful that it was called the Transformation Program, and her life was completely transformed. This was let's see what this one said. It is like the scales have dropped off my eyes, because I thought I was seeing, but it's like getting a new pair of glasses, and now it's like HD vision. So people seeing the world in a completely different way. It's not to say they weren't successful previously, they were not out in the world doing the things they wanted to do. We just hit it on a whole new level with the Transformation Program. And it's a combination of everything I've been doing over the last 23 years at this point. So that has changed, of course, in the last 10 years, because there are modalities I'm doing now that I wasn't doing back then. There are things I didn't include. I actually do have to go back and update the blog, actually, because I've shared the link of the blog where you can read people's testimonials, you can watch the testimonial videos from those who took part, but the text that is surrounding it, now I'm speaking out loud, I probably should go back and update that in terms of what we're going to be doing. So we'll be starting with a soul plan reading, for example, because that's a brilliant way to do a diagnostic. We get into the core of the limiting beliefs. We look at the specific challenges that are up for you. So it's a nice way to lay the foundation, saves us both having to rack our brains like, oh, what are we working on and what's the biggest challenge here? So the soul plan kicks us off very well. We'll be using the different modalities, and it's bespoke, and ignore that URL on these are the promotions that I did 10 years ago when I last offered it. So that Eventbrite page does not exist anymore. So ignore that. But yes, so we were looking at then what we'll do with this one, depending, because it's bespoke. Everything's going to be available if it's relevant. So for some people, we might do past life regression. For others, we might do timeline therapy. Timeline therapy is probably one of the staples. For others, we'll be doing the access consciousness. For others, we'll be using the HUNA. For others, we might do EFT. For some, gosh, I haven't used it for a while, but we might do the DNA theta healing. We may do the emo trance, energetic NLP, future life progression. Maybe we'll get into the archetypes. That could be really interesting as well. So depending on what you're working at, on where you're at, that will determine what we do. Let's have a look what else we got here. Even though this is from someone else who took part, and again, as I said, ignore the Eventbrite link. Even though I thought I was really confident, I didn't really feel confident inside. Everyone thought I was confident because of the exterior. After these sessions, I know I am the dog's nuts. And I did have someone say, I don't like that expression, but it's like, it's what the client said, and it basically sums up the result that she got at the end of it. So that was very, very cool. What we got here, It does what it says on the tin, that my life is transformed. That's another version of that. And I have to admit, when I was looking back at the stuff that I did when I first launched it all those years ago, this is how it almost felt. It felt like it was that long, that this last time I ran the transformation program, that we were still using cassette tapes and CDs. Of course, it wasn't quite that long ago. But when I look back and think, when did I launch that? Oh my God, 2011. The world was vastly different to the world we are living in now. And back then, it was actually quite innovative to be doing all of this big work online. But as some of you will know, I've been doing online training, online coaching, and online therapy since 2005, where we actually did still have CDs. And I say that because I've got a big stack. Did I have it? I showed. Oh, here they are actually. So I don't know if you can. Oh, actually, if I take the lid off. Oh, actually, it's I haven't used this pack yet, so it's sealed up. I don't know if you can see that. Ooh, wrong way. So these are CDs that have my logo on them. And when I used to do sessions back in the day, around about just before this program, I last launched it and offered it, what would happen is I was using teleseminars, so dialing up on the phone into a service. Teleseminar would be recorded. The people who owned that would then send me a CD. What I would then do is burn the CD. Actually, let me take that down just so you can see them a bit more clearly. Burn the CD. That's what you used to call it burning the CD. And then each recording, so let's say there were 10 people that took part, I would burn a CD in terms of copy it for 10 people, and then 10 CDs would go out in the post to the people who took part in terms of the recording. So it's not quite as old as the cassette tape, but not far off. But yeah, it's been actually fantastic. So someone else said it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Marilyn has been like the rocket to launch me into the stratosphere. I thought I was flying, but there is nothing like seeing things from a new rocket point of view. But now something seems clear. So people were coming to the program for different reasons. There were times where there was something going on that people wanted to clear from the past. There were other times, in terms of the person who shared this particular quote, they were in that stage of transitioning out of one career, going into something different. There was someone else who was studying, just getting going with their PhD. And so we were looking at, okay, what can we do to support you with that and all of that? So different reasons for different people, and others, they just know that the life they're living is in some way restricted and they're not being all they can be in terms of themselves and how they show up in the world. So reasons will be different. And that's why what we do will vary. There is a core structure that we're going to be following. But within that, in terms of the modalities that we use, that's the bit where it will change. So if you would like to join us, now it says, when you look at the page, it says 3 to 6 months. So change your life in 3 months or less. There are some people, when I first ran it all those years ago, there was one person, for example, that powered through it in a month, because we did a session. I think it was every other week we did, sometimes one a week, depending on how long. So we did some short 45 minutes, 1 hour sessions once a week. Sometimes we did longer 2 hour sessions. We'll do those twice a week, but they powered through the whole program in a month, done, dusted, got the result, game over. Others, we did something once a week, took 3 months. There was someone else who had commitments. That was the person who was studying for their PhD. Lots going on, young family. So we did it over a period of 6 months, scheduling things in with slightly longer gaps. So I say 3 to 6 months. So it can be a little bit more, can be a bit less, but it's going to determine my schedule, your schedule, what we're working on, how quickly you want to work. But I'm saying it's approximately a 3-month program in terms of how it's structured. But yeah, I've had some fantastic feedback over the years, some really, really wonderful experiences, things that people have achieved. So if you would like to take part, now this is the pre-launch that went at the pre-launch that went to my e-newsletter list, in terms of the pay your own price. And then I'll do the launch, which is the regular price, or if you want to do the split pay. So I'll be sharing that in the next few days once we hit into October. But if you're on my e-newsletter list, you get a chance to experiment and choose your own price, which I thought was just such a fun way to do it. So it's coming soon. It's making a limited edition return. Limited number of places available, of course, in terms of availability of my schedule. So I haven't got huge amounts. I've probably got less time than I had last when I ran it 10 years ago, actually, with all the council meetings and that sort of stuff. And also, ideally, we will be doing, and actually that we did a bit of that last year as well, but more so this year because of committee meetings in the evenings, etc. Ideally, we would do some of these sessions during the daytime. My thinking also is potentially, particularly if your schedule's already busy, we stagger the start dates a bit so everything's not lumped into one, but we can certainly talk about that when you sign up. What I did last time when I offered it back then is I set up some telephone sessions back then because we didn't have all the fancy online stuff that we have now. We did have, I think we had Skype back then. But what we can do is also a pre-discussion if you want to have a talk about whether or not it's the right program for you, because I think that's really helpful. And I'd said to people last time round, I didn't sign anyone up without having a pre-talk with them because I wanted to make sure it was right, because 3 to 6 months seeing someone on a regular basis, it's got to be a good fit. I've got to want to work with them, they've got to want to work with me. Now, of course, I've been around a lot longer than I had been back then, so many people already know me, they know how I work, and they'll be able to determine off the bat if it's for them. But if you did want to have the pre-talk and we just run through what we're going to be covering, what we're going to be doing, the way that it's structured, what you want to get out of it, then we can have that talk as well. Easiest way, if you go to my main website, what I will do when I launch this is I'll add it to the main website, which is transformationstm.com. That's TRANCE, F for Freddie, so FORMATIONSTM, so transformationstm.com. Click the red What's New button. It's at the top, normally top right. A panel will slide out and you'll see what's coming up. You'll see what's new. So I will add a link to this here when it launches. It's just launched at the moment with my e-newsletter list. If you're not on my e-newsletter list and you want future notification about things that are going on, special offers, the opportunity to try things out, if I'm testing processes, for example, then I'll ask for volunteers and I'll get them from my e-newsletter list. So once you're on the transformationstm.com website, if you look top left, you'll see a button where you can sign up. That puts you straight into my MailChimp list. So I would definitely encourage you to do that, just so you get the advanced notifications. Also with this one, if you purchased my All Access Pass, now those are my e-newsletter. If you're choosing the split pay or the paying full, while we're in pre-launch till the end of this month, end of September, you get 33% saving for my 23-year anniversary. So 23 plus 10%. If you are, but not on the pay your own price. If you are one of my All Access Pass holders, you get 23%, you get 33% like everyone else. It's in the e-newsletter. And you can have 23% off of the pay your own price. So if you did want to take this up and do some real kind of intensive one-to-one, then just ping me an email and I will send you the coupon code for the 23% off the pay your own price. But that's just for people who have done the All Access Pass. But anyway, I've explained all that in an e-newsletter. Hopefully that makes sense. Really look forward to working with you. If you would like the opportunity to do this program, I'll say what I said back in 2011, that I have no idea if and when I'm going to run this again. I'm not sure when it will return. So if I'm still doing this work in 10 years time, I might be sat here probably slightly older and a bit grayer, inviting you for a limited time to join me. But I have no idea when I'm going to run this again. So it could be another 10, 11, 12 years before it makes a return. So if it's something you'd like to do and you want some big life transformation where it really does do what it says on the tin, get yourself signed up and it will be fabulous to work with you. Well, I shall leave it there. And if you know someone who could benefit, please feel free to share this, share the link with them. And yeah, I'm interested to do the pay your own price experiment. Let's see how we go. So I will catch you later. Thank you for watching and wishing you all fabulous rest of your morning, afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. Catch you later.